Well, just when we thought it was going to be fine, down came the rain. Poe got a walk that was about 3 minutes, then back in the kennel. She's like, what the fuck? Well, there's one bloke around here, actually bloke-ess, because it's a female, who just loves it when it's wet, and that's Super Duck. Tilly, the toilet brush, is now Tilly a tangled mess, although she is drying out slowly. Damo's just done a big kai, and he's got a happy full puku nui. The fires have gone out, but you can see the 3 fireplaces. On the right, the rim fire. The middle one is an old gas bottle I made into a fireplace. And left is my latest creation, a cast iron bucket, padded with clay and straw, because cast iron is actually quite dangerous if it gets up to heat. Can give off some toxic fumes. And that's why I have put clay on the inside, and you can see there's still heat coming out. I've just finished doing this. Harvesting and stewing the last of our apples. I told a tall story. We've got plenty more apples. There's more there, and there's still more on the tree. I guess I'm trying to make them last. What I'll do is I'll use them on my porridge, my oats. Anyway, I was just talking to Daymo here, and coming here yesterday, I was trying to do a video on addiction. It's been the theme lately because I've been addicted to just about everything you could imagine being addicted to in my life, and I'm no longer a slave to it. And I was just crunching some ideas with Daymo about things that I could mention on the channel that might help you guys, but we've not really come up with much. Excuse me if I've got stuff on my teeth. I've just had a big feed. I haven't brushed my teeth yet, having a coffee. I'll tell you guys this about what I've learned about myself, about being addicted to stuff. I used to have a gambling problem when I was in Europe. I was also addicted to women, or to sex. Because I was a musician, there was no end of it. And one thing about pleasure wants one thing, it wants more pleasure. It's basically, you can break it down, it's dopamine. The more dopamine you try to get pleasure, the more you need. And that's when addiction occurs. It gets worse and worse and worse. And I think what happens with your brain is you get confused that pleasure is associated with being happy, and it's not. Being happy or being content or being joyful are completely different things. So as an example, I would go into a casino. Blackjack was always the best odds in the house. I was a crap poker player. People could tell my face a mile off. I couldn't do the old Daymo poker face. He doesn't really have a poker. I have seen you do a poker face when you're, yeah, but not really. So what I've gained about overcoming addiction is, first of all, the number one thing, and I think most of you guys that have struggled with this too would agree, the first thing is admitting and not being in denial you have a problem. Hi, I'm Clay, I'm a womanizer. Or hi, I'm Clay, I'm addicted to cocaine. Or hi, I'm Clay, I'm addicted to pig hunting. All of these things that we try to get this buzz and we try to get this happiness is not actually happy at all. It's a moment of pleasure that lasts very short. It's like cocaine. Cocaine is a drug, you snort it up your nose, about 30 minutes later you start feeling really good for a very short time, then you come down, and what do you want? You want more cocaine, and that's the addiction begins. And it's the same with every other drug. So recognizing you've got a problem is the first step, and that's a really hard one, because often when you're in denial you don't realize you're actually in denial, eh? I've been in denial but not known it, and I've done it with all sorts of things. It's a bit like when I got prostate cancer. I started noticing, oh, it's a bit sore down there. Ah, fuck, she'll be right. I haven't got that shit. That wouldn't happen to me. Apart from the fact that my uncle died of it and my other uncle got very sick with it, but that wouldn't happen to me. Denial. And other things I've done. So recognising that you deny something within yourself is hard. And this is when someone else outside of you says something, says, hey Daymo, you got a problem, bro. It doesn't actually work with him because he knows all his shit. But people that don't know their shit, it will push a button and they'll get upset, they'll get pissed off because they don't want to look at it because it's uncomfortable. Yeah, I don't really know what to bring to the table in this video to tell you guys that do struggle with addiction what you should do or could do. I'll say this, if you are an alcoholic or if you do have a drug problem, Narcotics Anonymous is great for drug problems, NA. AA is brilliant because you're first of all going into a room and just saying, I'm Clay, I'm an alcoholic. That's all you're going to say. Just getting over that hurdle, that big one. Drinking destroys lives. Doing excessive drugs destroys lives, your life, people you love, their lives. Excessive gambling destroys lives, your life, the people you love. Excessive eating, excessive anything, when it becomes out of balance, destroys stuff. And here's a pattern that happens for people that have eating disorders. And yes, I have had an eating disorder. I used to have a sugar problem. I was addicted to sugar. So I'd get candida in my gut. Candida is fed by sugar or by sucrose or by refined carbohydrates, and I'd get this leaky gut syndrome, and my stomach would be not good, and I'd be really not well, and my energy, I'd be lying down all day, no energy, I'd be stuffed. And then I'd go on this diet that my doctor put me on. No sugar, no refined carbohydrates, no dairy, because that was also something, although that's not necessarily tied in with candida, but that was part for me. And anything that would trigger that, no fruit, because the fructose in the fruit would feed it. It's basically you're feeding a bug. So I'd do this and I'd clean out for 3 months, and guess what? I'd feel great. And then I'd be going through life, playing my music in Europe on stage, and being there in the bar and say, what are you drinking? And I'd say, look, I'm not drinking tonight. And he'd say, oh, well, have a banana juice full of sugar. Look, I can handle one. So I'd have one. Before you know it, sugar likes to be fed with more sugar, that bug. And a couple of weeks, and then I'd be sick as a dog again. So the pattern would be, get well, and then, have a little bit. There is no such thing as a little bit when you've got a health problem. Whether it's alcohol, if you're an alcoholic, there's no such thing as just one drink. If you've got a problem with your gut, there's no such thing as just one sweet drink or one cake or one waffle. There's no such thing as that. If you're fighting coronary heart disease, there's no such thing as just one pork chop or just... You are going hard and fast to arrest whatever illness you've got, whether it's one of the mind, one of the gut, one of the belly. That's where it starts. So, really easy to talk about this, but there's really only one person that can do the first step, and that's yourself. Daymo and I have been talking about this quite a bit, but we don't really know what we should say that would make it easier for you guys. I think that is because there's no easy way.
Yeah.
There is no easy way. You've got to go hard and face it. And deal with that monster. It's bloody hard. It's tough. And you'll go through withdrawal. And you'll be uncomfortable. And you'll hurt. And you'll feel fucking terrible. And you'll have sweats. And you'll miss it. And you'll tell yourself stories and make up stories as to why you can do it. Oh, one won't hurt, or I'll just do this. Very few people actually quit drinking the first time, or quit smoking dope, or...
Yeah. There's definitely phases to it, I'm finding that one thing that I'm telling myself is, after admitting to yourself and acknowledging to yourself the depth of your self-abandoning, because that's what I look at my addictions as.
Yeah.
In order for me to sustain healing, because I still struggle with alcoholism, I still struggle with food addiction, pleasure addiction, is reminding myself of having my intentions being greater and my desire to heal, and all that encompasses the reasons why and who it affects and why I want to get healthy for my own needs are greater than the comfort it is to sit in your addiction and to be addicted and to sit within that, taking the easy option. And I guess that's the question you got to ask yourself: what are your intentions?
Yeah.
And do you really care enough to get well?
Like, care about yourself? Do you respect yourself enough to get well, eh?
Yeah. Do you respect yourself enough to get well, and do you respect the people in your life who you've acknowledged in one way or another affected by you
That's a good one.
being unwell?
And if you don't respect yourself and you keep on doing something, do you then expect other people to respect you? And what happens when they don't? You've got to take responsibility for that, eh?
That's a big one. You can't get shitty about it. Hey.
People do.
Yeah.
And the people that get shitty are the people that have messy lives. Yeah. Every time. It's like every time someone gets really like shitty with me with stuff, I always look at what's going on in their world, and I just sort of feel sorry for them, because I realise, well, bro, you're struggling, and I'm sorry about that, but that is something you're going to have to work through that. Yeah.
That's the old thing that we always come back to, is holding yourself accountable and being responsible for your own healing.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with the byproduct of the things you're uncovering, or the things you may have pushed aside and the feelings that are coming up while you're deep in it, that's your problem to deal with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can't put onto other people.
Nah.
But people do. They reflect it.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to someone that, because you talked about alcoholism, I've never actually had a problem with the drink. I've drunk too much,
Yeah.
but I've been easy to put the bottle down. It's been other addictions, but
Yeah.
alcohol's one that a lot of people struggle with. What would be your...
Yeah, it's something I still struggle with.
Yep.
And I would say that the initial times that I have had the strong enough intentions and the desires to cleanse myself of alcohol addiction or remove alcohol from my life,
Yep.
there's always been a second step to the process that I haven't been aware of, and it was just what you're talking about before. It's about, oh, I'm better now, I don't feel like a drink because that's going to ruin my life. But then usually when you remove one addiction, it creates a very easy portal for other things to
Does it what?
to arrive.
Yeah.
And so for me, I didn't quite realise that. So with my alcohol, with marijuana going out of my life, alcohol became stronger. With alcohol coming out of my life, my food and sugar addictions became huge. My pleasure addictions became huge.
Yeah.
And what they would do is they'd almost feed the same animal. And before I know it, I'd be abandoning myself in other ways, which then again weaken me, weaken my intentions and cloud my mind to my alcoholism, and it can just as easily bring alcoholism straight back, you know, within like that,
Yeah.
like that, and that sort of happened.
It's great to be able to see that you can do that, and that's why it's good to think about the times you've gone down. Your life's been really shitty. It's important to remember those bad times because, straighten it up, but you can easily forget that can happen and think you're bulletproof, just like I did when I was struggling with candida and I had that banana juice. You need to stop and reflect how bad life was when you were doing that. I don't know anybody who's an alcoholic that has a really good life. And I've got some really good friends that are alcoholics. Sorry, that's wrong. I don't know anybody who's an alcoholic who's drinking and has a good life. Yeah. I've got friends that are alcoholics that haven't had a drink in 20 years. They still go to AA and they're having brilliant lives.
Yeah.
One thing I have learned about whether it's mental illness or whether it's addiction is you never really ever heal 100%. What you do though is you learn to manage it. So don't be too hard on yourself. It's okay for me to say I've got cancer in remission. I can't say I haven't got cancer because the doctor said you until you're 5 years clear, we can't say that. And it's okay to say I'm managing this cancer. But if you start saying like, or being in denial, I don't want to have that, then you're basically going into denial that you have something that needs to be managed. And whether it's anxiety you're trying to manage, or depression, or drinking, or anything, the first step is acknowledging there is a problem there. We don't want to talk about these horrible things. We don't want to accept that maybe we have a fault with us, a crack in our system, but everybody's got cracks and faults. It's how you manage them that matters. And it's okay if you even fall off the wagon. It's not the end of the world. You can get back up and stop drinking for the next day. You're a human being. And what's not okay is pretending there's nothing wrong when there is something wrong. That's not okay, because then you don't allow yourself the opportunity to take responsibility for what it is that's causing not only you pain but everybody around you. Hey Tilly, I used to have a mate that had a dog like this size, and he used it for one thing only. He was a mechanic and he just used it for wiping his hands on. It was called Jake. You go, yeah, Jake, and Jake coming up, he just come out from underneath the car. Jake, a parrot. Come here, Jake. You pick up his fucking old Jake's head to get the ears and fucking his fingers, all grease off. And old Jake used to smell like a bloody. And then he'd have his dinner at lunch, and he'd wipe his hands after eating his dinner on Jake. Fucking Jake.
Oh, Jake, eh?
Yeah. Anyway, we probably haven't given anything that's of any value that you could really take from as a tool, I can see, but we're just, I guess, shooting the shit and reflecting our own battles and challenges, of which we don't always win, but we're trying to keep an eye on ourselves and checking ourselves, and it's all about me looking after me. You can look after a brother and you can check on a brother, but ultimately you're the one that does a bro check on yourself. So check on yourself, brothers. I'll finish up there. Anything you want to add to that, bud?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me too. Okay, have a great day, guys. The rain just started again. We wet as drowned rats. I've just had a shower and changed everything because I got soaked, and now it started again. I was thinking about going for a pig hunt this afternoon in the forestry, but ain't gonna happen. It's a weekend, so I've got permits for that. Go steady. See ya.